The lunar nodes, the lunar north node and the lunar south node, creates a karmic and fated portal. The lunar north nodes symbolizes things that come into our lives. It's physical. It's the real, the tangible things that enter our lives while that north node gets triggered. So what triggers that north node is when the north node approaches planets in our natal birth chart, when the astrological weather and the planetary movements meet up with the north node in our birth chart, and also when there's a eclipse on the north node. So the north node is everything that is coming into us for us to work with. The south node is everything that is leaving us. It also requires the energy of letting go. So there's a spiritual aspect to the south node. So whenever our natal planets meet up with the south node, whenever the astrological weather and the planetary movement meets up with the south node, and whenever there's an eclipse on the south node, there will be a karmic and fated release of something exiting, leaving our lives. So this sounds like whatever's coming in is positive and whatever's leaving can kind of come off negative, but this isn't the case. Although it's nice to know that with our north node things are coming in for us to work with, it also can symbolize, depending on each natal birth chart, it can symbolize anything coming into our lives, whether that be positive or something that's a little bit harder to work with. It also depends on our personal birth chart, because our natal planets will meet up with a north node, which will infuse what is coming into our lives. And same goes for the south node. When we think of things leaving, there may be this fear around letting things leave. But the south node, I think, is actually a pretty lucky, or it can be a lucky aspect to work with. And if you're someone who is ready to let go, ready to shed an old identity, or an old career, or an old anything that doesn't serve you, south node is where those themes are leaving your life. So a good approach to the north node and south node is to accept what's coming in and to let go of what's leaving. It's a natural karmic and fated portal that is moving on its own. There's not a lot that we can do to change or to prevent anything. It all has to do with where the node is, what planets are transiting the node, if our personal planets are transiting the node, or if the nodes are transiting our personal planets, and if there are eclipses. So the nodal axis in our personal birth chart, it takes 18 years for the nodes to meet back up to where they were the day we were born. And this is known as our nodal return. So that portal where the north node and south node is in our personal birth chart is very karmic, very fated for us. It is our life story, our life purpose, our life mission to work with that nodal axis that's fixed in our personal birth chart. And then we get the nodal transits that move every 18 months. And this is really special. I think if you're prepared to look at this through a bird's eye view, you can really approach each nodal transit with a lot of wisdom, a lot of trust, and you can really understand that things that are coming into your life are to be worked with, things that are exiting your life. It's an opportunity to evolve. And that's interesting because the north node is mostly associated with evolution. It's mostly associated with us wanting to move towards our north node and embody our north node. And the South Node is usually associated with what we're already good at, what already comes naturally to us, and what we don't need to spend so much time on. In my personal practice, I have somewhat of a different approach. Although with my North Node, I am trying to understand, evolve, and work with my North Node and strive towards my North Node. But I found that working with your South Node and understanding the South Node, there's a lot of good work to do there. There's a lot of spiritual work to do there. So with that South Node, things are exiting. So it's a lot of trust and knowing that there's a spiritual aspect to what's leaving your life. There's something being cleared out so you can gain something with the North Node. So working with that South Node, if you have the mindset of remaining flexible and just trusting whatever leaves your life, you're gonna have maybe a easier experience with working with the South Node. And one other thing about the South Node, when I've observed what the South Node is while it's transiting through my birth chart, I've observed that the South Node has really surprised me because it brought up so many natural gifts wherever it was in my birth chart. So it'll take on a new theme based on the zodiac sign and the house, and a lot of natural gifts that I wasn't even aware of come up for me to utilize. So it's known as our comfort zone. It's known as things that we are already used to doing, already good at doing, but sometimes you need that area of life, the things that you're good at, the things that come natural to you, to really build up the process to accepting what's coming in. This is like such a simple analogy. I hope it resonates. You know, when you're writing a to-do list and you have a bunch of to-dos on your list, but you start with the easiest ones first. And when you check off those easy to-dos that you know you can just get done like this, it creates momentum. It creates motivation to get the rest of the list done. So it's like a simple approach to the South Node, whereas you work with what you have, you work with what you're good at, and it creates this momentum of accepting the new that's coming into your life. So that South Node, sure, there can be moments where things are exiting our lives and it can be painful. And that's life. Life is always going to have these moments that are out of our control. And these are moments that we have to work with. That is the spirit of life. That is what life's about. So we have these things that could exit, but sorry, I think there's a bee next to me. But we also have these things that are good to leave our lives. Maybe we're just waiting on that next career. We're waiting on that next relationship. We're waiting on that next friend group, or we're waiting on that next identity for us. The South Node is an opportunity where the old leaves, what doesn't serve us leaves. And that could also be a really positive thing for us as well. So the South Node is about leaving, it's about exiting, and let me take a step back. When there's an 18-month transit on a nodal axis, when you are in the transit, and I think more specifically when you are towards the end of the transit and you can look at what has happened as a whole, you can see that a lot of good came out of it. I think it can be somewhat of a confidence booster. Things that you're naturally good at come up. You can better understand that sign. You can better understand that house of where the South Node is in your birth chart. And it's an opportunity to just understand that area of life in that birth chart and what it means to you in your birth chart. So the South Node, I would say, if you're okay with remaining flexible, if you're okay with trusting in what you can't see, if you're okay with letting things move around, letting things come in, come out, and if you are really in touch with your spirituality, the South Node and transits around the South Node can be very spiritual, very meaningful, and they can be, I don't know if easy is the right word to use, but they can be doable to navigate. And then we have the North Node. And the North Node is most commonly known as what we are striving for. So while there's a transit to the North Node, and wherever it is in your birth chart, the sign and the house, there's going to be a lot coming in with the themes of the sign and that house. So this could be positive if you are waiting on anything new to come in, anything new that you want to physically have. It is coming through the North Node. So while there's a transit, let's say there's eclipse on the North Node, you can know that it's a karmic and fated moment where something is entering your life. And although we are really focused, I think we tend to focus on the North Node and working towards the North Node. There's also anything that could come in. It's karmic and fated, so it's out of our control, and it's based on our personal life story, our personal life purpose. So we are accepting anything that can come in. And I guess you could say if you're navigating a transit along this North Node, sorry, there's so many bees around me and I'm freaking out a little bit. But if you're transiting or if you're working with and working through a transit to the North Node, just remain accepting of what comes in. And I guess trust is another good approach. Trust what's coming in is just a part of your life story and your karma and your fate. So when it's eclipse season, you can commonly hear that it's a good idea just to remain observant. It's just to see what's coming in, see what's exiting. There's not much that you have to do. You don't have to muscle anything. You don't have to initiate or manifest anything. It's just about observing. And I think that's the best way to understand and really see the symbolism and meaning of a North Node and a South Node transit or eclipse, is observing what's coming in your life through the North Node and what's exiting your life through the South Node. So I wanted to go over a couple notes to be aware of, which is the North Node and South Node. They move through each sign on average 18 months. And that could change. It could be more or less based on the sign, the axis that it's in. But for the most part, it's 18 months. So let's say the North Node is in a house for you and you don't have any planets in that house. That may be a calmer transit for you because that North Node isn't going to be aspecting anything in that house. And I want to also note that a lot of significance is in the conjunctions to the nodes. So if you don't have any planets where the North Node is transiting, that North Node won't conjunct any planet. It won't create a portal of entry. Same goes for the South Node. If the South Node is in a house where you don't have any planets, while that transit's happening, that South Node isn't going to create a portal to any planets because that house is empty. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have an entry and exit way, because we do have eclipses and we do have the astrological weather that will target those that nodal axis. But it just means that your personal birth chart there's not going to be like a very personal karmic and fated effect, because it's not touching any planets that are in your birth chart. So that's one thing to be aware of. The second is, let's say that North Node and South Node, they're in houses that don't have any planets. You will still get the effects of the astrological weather transiting your North Node and your South Node. It's going to take on a little bit of different energy, but you're still going to get that karmic and fated portal being activated. It's just a little bit different because it's based on the transits, not based on your birth chart. So that's one other thing to be aware of. And the other thing was eclipses. Eclipses are always very potent and intense. So you're always going to have a karmic and fated portal be activated through the eclipses. So the nodal axis is always going to take on a karmic and fated energy. It's always going to be activating the entryway and the exit way. It just depends on what's activating the entry and exit way. Is there a planet conjuncting? I don't even think that's a thing. Is there a planet that's conjunct the South Node or North Node? Things like that. So there's a lot of nuance around the nodes, and I just wanted to mention those couple aspects around the nodes. And when the astrological weather is approaching your natal lunar nodes, that is a very karmic and fated event, because that is your personal natal nodes that don't move, and the astrological weather that is triggering the nodal axis in your birth chart. So I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. I just wanted to emphasize that the North Node, to be accepting of what's coming in and to be ready to work with what's coming in. It's going to be new, and it's going to be something that's that is like that's like you can physically work with. And then with the South Node, anything is exiting the South Node. The South Node is the exit way. So there's an approach to just remain flexible, to remain observant, and just to let things go. It's going to be in all of our best interests to allow things to leave, and to just trust that it is a part of life, and it is a part of our life purpose and our life story. Letting things leave allows us to be ready for everything that's coming in through the North Node as new and something to work with. So, and last thing, sorry, I'm like trying to make sure I cover everything in this video. I think the approach to the North Node and the South Node is to lean on your South Node. And this is when you're looking at the nodal axis from a bird's eye view. When there's not eclipses or planets transiting the nodal axis, and you're just looking at the transit as a whole, lean on your South Node. Use your South Node gifts to elevate yourself, to give yourself confidence, and to work with what's coming into your life through the North Node. The South Node is a special point to work with, and it has your back, and it's things that you can count on. Don't neglect the South Node. Use that to work with everything new that's coming in through your North Node. And whatever's coming in through your North Node, know that it's new for you to embody, for you to work with, and for you to evolve. You're evolving with that energy of that zodiac sign and the energy of that house. So new can be exciting. New can also be a challenge. But if you're accepting of anything that comes in, you're always going to be able to work with it. So Okay, I think that is it for this video, and if anyone has questions about the North and South Node, please go ahead and comment. I think there are a lot of approaches to the North and South Node, and I think it is a very um, spiritual access point and exit point in our birth chart. So I think we can spark a lot of conversation about the North and South Node and what they mean for us. So thank you everyone for listening, and I will see you next time.